So welcome to our workshop this afternoon. I'm going to start off with just kind of a overreaching, just kind of the overreaching finances to school, and then I'll turn it over to Jenny, who will get into scholarships and loans. So as Allison mentioned, the Financial Wellness Center, and we're in the Union Building, although we're doing everything virtual right now. So if you would like a one-on-one, just contact us, go through our website and make an appointment. Okay, well, whenever somebody mentions money management or budget, do you automatically just cringe and look like this little baby here that probably has eaten something he's never eaten before? Does your heart always skip a beat when you open your bank account and realize that you've been spending more than you should? So we do budgets at our office, and you absolutely need to have a budget and you need to have a plan. And that's what I am really going to talk about first thing here. We like to put the finances into this wellness wheel because, you know, we have to see ourselves as a whole person. Not just kind of the individuals, you know, of maybe exercising, which we all like to do, or Jenny and I certainly mentioned that in our bios. But we have to take everything into consideration: our intellectual well-being, emotional, spiritual, financial, environmental, and social, as well as that physical. So we are here to talk to you about this financial component of yourself. Here we all are at the X. Here we are today, and we want to get to this why. All of you are in school for a reason, and think about why you are in school. You know, is it something that you've always dreamed of doing? Is it something that your parents kind of pushed you into or just expected you to do? Are you in school because you want to get that career and that career job when you graduate? Do you just, you know, want to get all this information about so many things, you know, so that you're an interesting person and you have lots of things to talk about and lots of interests because of all the classes that you've taken in school? So this line between the X and Y is how do you get there? And finances are going to be a huge part of getting from X to Y. As you well know, there's a lot of money involved in a degree, whether it's bachelor's or a graduate degree. So we're going to talk today. I'm going to start off with ways to pay for school. And there's only 3 ways to pay for school. I think sometimes, you know, we think, oh, am I missing something that everybody else knows that I don't know? But, you know, the answer is really quite simple. 3 ways to pay for school. The first way and the first thing to consider is using someone else's money. The first thing you want to take a look at is scholarships. This is financial aid that you don't have to repay, and it differs from grants in that scholarships are mostly merit-based. And we're going to have Jenny get into finding scholarships, applying for scholarships, but that's something that, you know, think about first thing. The other one is grants, and these are usually need-based. So you want to fill out a FAFSA, that free application for federal student aid, and this can give you a grant such as a Pell Grant. The University of Utah also has need-based grants, depending on what that FAFSA looks like. So every year, fill out that FAFSA, even if you think you don't qualify for a grant, fill it out anyway, because you don't know. Maybe you do qualify for a grant, but also most scholarships require that you fill out a FAFSA first. So somebody else's money. That's always a good idea, right? The second way is going to be your money. And this is going to be savings. I wish I could get college students and their families to save for college early on. If parents started saving when you were born, that's 18 years of money that can be put in, maybe each birthday. And then, of course, the money grows at the market rate if it's invested in a college savings fund. Utah has one of the best college saving funds in the nation. So, maybe that's something you can think about for your own children. And you're working. I think 80%, 79.8% of our students are working at least part-time. So save as much money as you can. That's going to be loans that you won't have to take out later if you can save. Also, take a look at, maybe your parents have saved, or maybe they have some money that they can give you. So these are conversations that students need to have with parents, and parents need to have with students. And, we don't do that enough. Parents kind of think back to when they went to school, and here you are, and it's a whole different world where we're talking about a whole different generation. And so we need to have these conversations with our parents. Also take a look at maybe you're working while you're in school, like that almost 80% is. Work study is a fabulous thing to get into. My 3 children worked on campus. And this is something that, you go up to the campus in the morning, you're there all day between work and study and your classes, and you're not driving all over town, from home to school, running over to your job, running back for a study group, and then going home. This is a wonderful way to help pay for school. Click that work study box on your FAFSA, which just opens up a lot more on-campus jobs to you. And then save as much as you can from your work. Now, the last way, and I've got here, borrow responsibly, but the last way to pay for school is with borrowed money. And sometimes, we just can't save enough. We can't work at our, $9 an hour job enough hours to pay for school. And we just need to take out some loans to help us finish. The first thing that you want to look for are these federal loans. I say that because they have usually the lowest interest rate and the best terms. Best terms are going to be flexible repayment plans. You don't have to start paying on those loans until 6 months after you graduate. So make sure that FAFSA is filled out so that you can take out a federal loan if needed. And then the last way is going to be private loans. They may not have the terms that the federal loans have, but a lot of people run out of federal loan money or don't qualify for federal loans. And so a private loan would be an option for them. And if you need some help, come and see our office. We can walk you through all the pros and cons of different loans. And while we let you make that final decision, it's always nice to have somebody to talk things over with. It just helps you make a more responsible decision. Another thing that we do at our office is kind of do this my school plan. And just like we should have monthly budgets, how much does it cost us each month to live? We need to kind of look ahead at our schooling. And, if you're in school for 8 semesters, how much is it going to cost? Here you can go through your expenses. The financial aid website at the University of Utah has some wonderful calculators on how much tuition is going to cost. And you may not know 2-3 years in advance, but you can get a pretty good idea of what your expenses are going to be. Usually tuition goes up about 4% per year. So you can count on that. And then you need to put in your living expenses, which is why it's so important to have a budget. You've got some variable expenses in here. For example, if you have a car, you'll need to put in, oil changes, that yearly taxes and license that you need to pay. And then, take a look at maybe where that income is going to come from in all these 3 ways. Total them up just like you would a budget. And then you're either going to have a gain or a loss at the end. And if you have a gain, you can save for future semesters. If you have a loss, you know that you either need to work more, save more, or take out some loans. But when you are working while you are in school full-time, especially, just know that school is your first job. And so don't let work get in the way, that you aren't getting good grades, because you do want those scholarships that are based on merit. So keep up your grades and apply for scholarships. So again, just come in and visit with us if you'd like to talk about paying for school. That has been the number one a reason for our visits this year, have just been students wanting some help with school expenses. So we hope to see you in our office. And are there any questions before I turn the time over to Jenny? All right.
Anne, and we'll see if some come up. Please feel free. And I am going to, let's see, are you able to see the screen?
Not yet.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Because I think it should be fully on. You can't see it? Okay, then
No.
Anne, I might need to ask you.
Okay.
So wait a minute. Oh, well,
Did you get it?
maybe. Let me try one more time.
One more time.
Okay.
There
Did
you
that
go.
work? Yay. Okay, I feel better. Thank you for your patience. Is it at the beginning? Let me see. There we go.
It looks
Better.
like it.
Okay, thanks everybody. So welcome, like Anne said, and we're very pleased to have you. I know others will probably be able to watch this or review it in the future, or maybe you could watch it with other siblings, parents, roommates, you name it. But everything to do with scholarships and financial aid, please feel free to ask lots of questions. Come in later. You'll have Anne's contact information, mine, as well as Grace, who will introduce in a little bit. And things change from year to year. So please do not hesitate to ask us questions and to come in, because every year something a little different. The federal government changes things, the state changes things, or maybe even at the institution we offer additional items. Like this year, brand new was the 4 Utah Scholarship. So maybe some of you are recipients of it or will be applying in the future. So the agenda right now is the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. We won't spend a lot of time on each one of these. We'll move pretty quickly. Where to find scholarships, the University of Utah scholarship application, some application tips, and then some Q&As. And types of aid. Anne already covered a lot of these items, but what you want to look at is you go for the cheapest aid first. So make sure you're applying scholarships. You don't have to repay those. That's free money, other people's money, like Ann mentioned. So scholarships can be merit, athletic, talent, might be theater, might be a lot of different ways that you receive scholarships. When it comes to grants, those are usually based on some need, and the FAFSA can help a lot of times in receiving some kind of need-based assistance. When it comes to work study, there can be federal work study, or it's possible that some of the campuses, offices might offer their own work study separate from federal work study. So it is possible to work on campus as well, even if we don't award you federal work study. And then there's loans. A lot of times what I'll see is maybe a student will receive Pell Grant, maybe the first year, and they keep working and working and working so hard because they don't want to take out loans. And sometimes by their senior year, they might not even be eligible for Pell Grant anymore because they worked so many hours. They earned so much money, it knocked them out of, let's say, Pell Grant eligibility. And a lot of times it can be worth it just to borrow some loan money, subsidized, that government pays the interest while you're in school. And so there's no interest accruing at all. And then, so they're not as bad as the media and everyone scares us into thinking. They are a last resort. So try everything else first. Self-help is definitely what you've saved, maybe parents, grandparents, maybe you have a relative that doesn't have any children and they put money away in a 529, waiting for one of the family members to take advantage of it. So self-help can come in a lot of different ways. The FAFSA that we talked about, the free application, it's fafsa.gov, and we will consider you for different federal, state, and institutional. Some of you might be applying for Regent Scholarship or New Century through the state. They require a FAFSA form to be completed. So a lot of times, a lot of the grants and aid that you might be considered would be based on the FAFSA. Federal work study might be need-based scholarships. And then here at the bottom, you can see the interest rate on subsidized and unsubsidized is like 2.75% right now. Very low for undergrad. So a great deal, really, considering other kinds of loans that you might receive. And when it comes to the FAFSA, you have to fill out one each year. So October 1, it just opened for fall 2021. Right now, when you go out to do the FAFSA, it's going to have two drop downs. It's going to have one for the current 2021 year and one for 21-22. So probably by now you should have completed the 2021. If you're currently enrolled in school, we've awarded you, but you want to prepare for fall 2021. So make sure you do it. Complete the FAFSA. I always encourage people probably around the Thanksgiving break or the holiday breaks. Our priority deadline is February 1, 2021 for fall 2021. So make sure that you complete it as early as possible. And it is based on your 19 taxes of your information, your parents. Good news is you can import all that. Fairly straightforward and easy. So you can even do it on mobile devices, although I'd probably recommend a laptop. We have a lot of sessions through UHEA, the Utah Higher Education Assistance Authority, that they're doing different live chat rooms kind of on FAFSA where you can drop in and we'll help you with FAFSA, and our financial aid counselors here in the office obviously can help as well too. So next steps, make sure if you're a current student right now, you realize that Campus Information Service, CIS, there is a student home page really. You want to review that as often as possible. Always use your email when you communicate with us. If you have to complete additional items, about a third of all students are selected for verification. And what that means is the government's asked us to look at additional items, like maybe tax transcript, or maybe for males, have you complete selective service, or does your name match your social security number? The government asks us to check those items. The way you find out if we need additional information from you is that we will post that on CIS. So on CIS, under your financial aid status and your information, there might be some checklists of things to do. If you do accept loans and want to get student loans, you would have to complete entrance counseling, which is just kind of like what Ann was describing with budgeting and how to really what all the responsibilities of loans, such as what's budgeting for it, maybe how much per month, that you don't have to make any payments while you're in college. You start repaying 6 months after. But it talks about all the provisions of what you would be under with entrance counseling. They go through all of that. It might take you a half hour to 45 minutes. And once you do it, you're done. Yay. So make sure that you do it up front. The master promissory note is also required, and that explains your obligations. If you are fortunate enough to receive any kind of refund from the institution at the U, you want to make sure that you set up a way that you would receive those refunds, either direct deposit, or it might possibly be through check if you haven't set anything up. If you have paid via credit card, sometimes those funds or refund would come back and go back on a credit card. And we do have payment plans. You have to prepare for that upfront. There's about a $35 fee to set those up, but that's another option that's out there as well. And here is what CIS, when you go out and look at it, you would go to the financial aid piggy bank, right? So check that out. And then here on the left, you can see how it'll ask you which aid year, which the current one we're in right now is the 2021. It'll be a drop down, and you can see under financial aid status if there's any checklists, or you can accept any kind of items on your award letter, and you can see the information of how much you've been awarded. So this can be very valuable as you progress in your years here at the U and with financial aid. So other circumstances, we know a lot of life can happen, right? Is that an understatement? I mean, look at COVID right now. We have received CARES funds from the federal government. We have emergency funding. But if you decide to reduce your hours that you're enrolled, maybe almost every scholarship we do starts at 12 credit hours. If you decide to reduce down to 9, what does that mean? Make sure you reach out to our office. It might mean something different for federal funds than scholarships. If you decide to take a leave of absence, and I'll give you an example, there was a young man who's in engineering, has like a 3.6 GPA, does not really like online courses, is thinking about taking leave of absence for spring. So he reached out to find out about his scholarships and how that might affect it. You want to make sure that your leave of absence is approved. If you're a new student, it would be through admissions. If you're a returning continuing student, it would be through the registrar's office. So make sure that you inquire about leave of absence, how it would affect other aid. And if you don't complete enough hours or your GPA is below the requirement, that could affect future aid. We require at least 24 completed hours on an annual basis, and each scholarship has a little bit different GPA requirement. So make sure you know what those are and that you can stay above it. There are possibilities to appeal. So if things don't go as planned, we can help. And help you with that process. If you're going to do learning abroad, we do ask that you meet with our office to find out more details about how that would be handled with any kind of scholarships or federal aid. And anything above could affect your financial aid or scholarships. So reach out. As Anne mentioned, alternative loans would probably be your last resort. It's possible that these would be in your parents' name, or if you're an independent student, they might be in your name. You can compare these. We have at the very bottom, you can see Welcome to Fast Choice. It's a way to compare private alternative loans. Some of these have different interest rates, different fees, eligibility requirements. They might do a credit check or require a cosigner. I would recommend that you apply and receive federal student loans first. Like for your first year, you can receive, if you're a dependent student, up to $5,500 in your name. Your sophomore year, you can receive up to $6,500. Sophomore or junior and senior year, you can receive up to $7,500 in federal student loans. So I would recommend checking those out first, because like I told you, if you qualify for subsidized, then there's no interest accruing. So that's a much more economical way to go. These usually interest accrues from date of disbursement, and it can vary based on your credit or other kinds of information, or if you have a cosigner. So definitely check out all of your options. Anne and her team would help you, as well as our office, on what's your best option but explore everything first. And then we do have income share agreement. This is brand new. Last year was, I believe, the first year that we kicked it off, but it's a way with certain individuals, when you're within 2 years of graduating, and maybe you haven't borrowed any loans at all, you could receive from 3,000 to, let's say, 10,000, and then you would pay back a fixed percentage of your income on a regular monthly basis. So for some students, it might be a great option, but it's worth exploring. And that's through the U here at isa.utah.edu. You can find out more information. And where to find scholarships. Okay, we're getting to the really exciting part. University of Utah has a scholarship application. Many of you, if you're enrolled currently, you probably already applied for the current year 2021. Right now, we just opened up, and a lot of these opportunities will be presenting themselves between now and it could be all the way through, even spring of 2021. If I were you, I would recommend once again that you do this maybe during the Thanksgiving break or the holidays, but I would not wait until after January 1st. I would do it before that time, and make sure you fill out the general application. So you can go to scholarships.utah.edu and it will forward you to, it's called utahacademicworks.com, but it's all on our website. Complete the general application. And let me give you an example. There are some scholarships that are maybe for first generation. So when you go out and complete it, we'll know more information about you, maybe what your major is. So if you're chemistry, there might be additional opportunities that present themselves. And if you did not receive any scholarships up front, please don't let that discourage you, and Grace will help more with encouragement as well too, but keep applying. The more you apply, the more your chance and opportunity to receive scholarships goes up. And here's some of the spotlights too. We do have emergency funds, CARES Act money. It's possible, I've been hearing on the news that there might be additional CARES funds distributed to the colleges. So, we've been very fortunate at the University of Utah. A lot of people have been doing fundraising. So we have had quite a few dollars in emergency funds. There are different Department of Physical Therapy or nursing or Park and Rec. Different areas have different deadlines on their scholarships. So definitely go out and apply, look at that information that's out there, complete the general app, and then opportunities will appear. You'll have to go back in and check them maybe once every couple of weeks or so to see if there's new ones that you might be able to apply. And here's an example of external scholarships. Grace will talk a lot more about this, but we do have this on our website where it's out there that you can apply for external scholarships. I always encourage people to start close to home first and then expand out. So start local, including the University of Utah, start through maybe your community, high school counselor, through the state. Like there's a Utah Humanitarian Scholarship. If you just graduated from high school, there's a Jump Start Scholarship for those doing financial literacy. So please, you want to go out and look at these. And in fact, if any of you are national CPR, that you've already completed your CPR certification, there are monthly awards, right? So different ones have maybe once a year, but we place these by deadline due date. So those are the ones due in October, November, December. So when you have some free time that or maybe you're lucky enough to work at a job where you can study a little bit, you could actually do some of these scholarships and apply for those. And Grace will give you more hints on all of it as well. International students, there's information on this link as well. A lot of the donor named scholarships could possibly go to international students. Most of our merit and other state funds usually require US citizen or eligible non-citizen status, but there's more information about the international student information as well. And employers, oh my gosh, this is often overlooked. So if your parents work at Larry H. Miller, you happen to work at Larry H. Miller or UPS or Starbucks, there can be some scholarship opportunities. UPS was offering individuals that work there to repay their student loans for them. So there's a lot of opportunities. If your parents, let's say maybe with COVID, they were laid off or not working, they're looking for employment, Larry H. Miller is very generous to the employees' dependents and pays for a lot of scholarship funds as well for you to attend college. So church can be another great opportunity for you to apply through maybe your parents or where you go, different professional affiliations. And like Grace, she'll talk about, she's part of the debate team. So you might pay fees or dues to be part of a speakers bureau, let's say, and they might have a professional affiliation that offers scholarships. So anytime you hear the word foundation, organization, a lot of times not-for-profits have a lot of scholarships that might be offered. So definitely listen to that, apply, see if there's opportunities. I'll give you another example. If you're part of Greek life here, I talked to a father one day that said, boy, we've paid Greek dues for the last 3 years. And I kept thinking, is it worth it? And guess what? The senior year, my son received an entire scholarship to pay for all tuition fees. So never eliminate. There's lots of opportunities out there. There might be ethnic foundation like Somos. If you're Latino, there's Somos Foundation offers scholarships. There's a lot of different opportunities. I just talked to one refugee yesterday. So definitely check out things that are out there. Charities and non-profits are another great way to be considered for scholarships. And these, like I said, you want to start with the U first, then maybe local and state. But out from there, these are some of the national ones. We receive over 10 million a year in external scholarship funds. So there are a lot. And I'll give you an example. Sometimes we've received scholarships from a set design for a theater student from somewhere in Los Angeles. We receive funds from like a Wyoming construction union workers group for their dependent student to go to school. There are so many different kinds of scholarships out there. So hopefully this will spark some of your interest on things that you might qualify to receive. And our application will go kind of quick through this, but when you flip on, you do have to sign in. So make sure that when you go to scholarships.utah.edu, you will use your regular University of Utah sign in. And you go and see how up at the top it says University of Utah General Scholarship Application. Make sure that you complete that. And once again, below there will be different recommended opportunities that will be considered in the future, will present themselves to you. So make sure you go back in. Some schools and some departments or areas or colleges, like maybe engineering or business or different areas, might require individuals to have a reference or recommendation. So your reference or recommendation might have to upload a recommendation letter out here. And different application tips. I'm going to go through these really quick because Grace will spend more time on them, but definitely make sure that you qualify before applying, to a particular scholarship. So kind of glance through it, make sure it's something that you might be eligible to receive. Be involved in different clubs or organizations. If some of you out there are transfer students, there are scholarships like for Transfer Crimson Club. So, and Benyon Center has lots of scholarships. The Union, oh my, they offer a lot of scholarships. So anyway, the more involved you are on campus, maybe you're a resident advisor, so that might help with your housing, but there's a lot of opportunities out there, and definitely employment as well. Network, because you're going to find out a lot of information as well, how you can apply, maybe people. If you know someone on a board, chances are they might be over a scholarship. Definitely write thank you notes. We collect those, we save those, we pass those on to donors and donor families. It means the world to those organizations. They really, really appreciate it. And we require it as part of, making sure that that scholarship that you receive is dispersed on your tuition bill. So how to write about yourself. I'm going to skip through this because I think Grace will cover it much better than I can from a student perspective. And once again, and if you do need writing assistance as well, I believe they'll even do all of this online. They'll review it for you, critique it. So it's a good idea. One of the other things that I would encourage you to think about, if you are working right now, or maybe you don't have a position, there is something called educationatwork.org. We are one of only 3 colleges that participate where they hire our students. And right now the 2 employers are Microsoft and Discover Financial. They pay our students an hourly wage, as well as you might receive up to $5,250 a year on top of an hourly wage. And they have their own requirements. Maybe you work 20 hours a week. They're open like 6 a.m. till 8:30 at night and on Saturday and Sunday. But it's a great opportunity and way that you can, earn additional money to help you, with your expenses and to help pay for tuition on top of it. We have well over 300 students working with them now, and students really seem to love it. Lots of great opportunities. They also put all of our students up remote when COVID hit. So we really appreciate that, but it's a great opportunity. And they've even hired some of our grads. Microsoft hired some of the first individuals that worked for Education at Work, and now they're part of Microsoft and they graduated from the U. So great opportunity, great networking as well, and they've made it fun. So, and once again, the counselors were here to help, whether you need filling out the FAFSA, scholarship resources, navigating some of the steps or general questions, maybe tuition payment options, any kind of unique situations that happen, like if your parents were laid off and or maybe there was a death or a disability or something additional happened that was not recorded on the FAFSA, because since you're reporting 2019 taxes, a lot can happen after that time. So, and walk-ins were the truth before. Right now it's a little bit more difficult, but our window is completely open. You can come up to the window at any point. Usually there's not any kind of line. So, and you can call in. My other hint for you would be to call early in the morning, like around 8:30. Really helps. We are closed Tuesday mornings from 8 to 10 for processing time, but you can also schedule an appointment online as well too. Here's more of our information that is about our email address for scholarship, financial aid, our phone numbers, and where we're located in the Student Services building. So at this point, are there any maybe questions that you have? And if not, I'll give you some time to think about it. I will now like to turn the presentation over to Grace Oseski. And Grace, welcome. Grace is now a junior at the U, and I met her when she was a freshman. She is so successful with scholarships, and she's been a great asset and help these last 3 years to let all of you know some of the hints and tips how you can get more. And a lot of times you can hear it from Anne, you can hear it from me, but there's nothing like hearing it from a student because she's living it every day. And what she does is so helpful. And so she'll give you some great ideas. She's part of the debate team. Seems like every time I heard her on KUER one morning, Grace is everywhere. So we are fortunate to have her here with us. So Grace, welcome. Would you go ahead and introduce yourself more about maybe your major and your interests, even what you were thinking about doing over the summer that got a little derailed, but we'd love to hear from you. So thanks, Grace, for joining us.
For sure. Thank you for having me. So my name is Grace Oseski. I am double majoring in anthropology and health and science communication with a minor in Spanish. Over the summer, I was going to attend a field school for mortuary archaeology in Poland, but of course COVID happened. So I was unable to do that, but I know the U has a lot of great opportunities as far as field schools go. So hopefully I'll be attending one of theirs this upcoming summer. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Can you guys see that okay? Is that?
Yes, I can see it, Grace.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm just gonna talk to you about kind of how to find scholarships, tips and tricks for applying, that kind of thing. So finding them, the first question you kind of got to ask yourself is, what is your major or minor? You can definitely apply to both. Uh, there's usually an essay that sort of asks you this question anyway, so it's a good thing to think about. Another important question to sort of ask yourself is, how does your major or minor connect you to the world and or help your community? A lot of scholarship applications ask a question pertaining to this, so it's just something to consider, like, why are you studying what you're studying? Yeah, so this is the what do you want to do with your life question for college kids. So how are you as an individual making the world better with what you're doing or your community? Everyone is, you just kind of have to think about it sometimes. So as Jenny said, one of the best things to do is check at the U within your college. There's not enough money, to go around for everybody, but it's really a good place to start and sort of figure out, what's available through the U, how much should you be looking for in outside scholarships, that kind of thing. There are some really, really great scholarships at the U to apply for within colleges. And some colleges have a lot of funding just because, not a lot of people qualify for scholarships. So it's really good to apply to your specific college. So this is kind of continued. Another thing to ask yourself is, what are your interests and life experiences? What's something you like to write about? What are your outside experiences, whether that's internship, extracurricular? Jenny mentioned that I was on the debate team, and we've had some really awesome debate tournaments. We got to go to an international tournament in Berlin, Germany, and getting to travel and go to a different country for the first time was an awesome experience. And essay readers, they want to hear about that kind of stuff. Another thing is, I had an internship with KUER that was super awesome. I got to interview a lot of people about disease-related topics, and that was really interesting to me. So yeah, just kind of ask yourself basically what you're passionate about, what's something that you enjoy writing about, that you've done. Think of it as kind of telling a story about your life. The next place to kind of find them is credit unions. Most credit unions do have a scholarship. One of the ones in Utah is Mountain America. I'm from a town in Utah that's closer to Colorado, so I have a credit union in Colorado that provides scholarships every year that I've been a member of since I was a kid. Another, as Jenny mentioned, jobs. Some places offer like a tuition waiver or a scholarship. Definitely Starbucks. My mom works for Kroger stores, so I'm eligible for a scholarship through them. Microsoft, I know, does a lot of good programs. Wells Fargo, and then also just random scholarship websites. You never really know what you can find. You can find cool travel grants if you want to study abroad, that kind of thing. Yeah, just exploring, whatever is out there, because you never know what you're going to qualify for, and you never know what you're going to find. So that said, qualifications. Even if you meet just one criteria out of, however many, it's always a good idea to apply, because you could have been the only one to apply. And because you met that one qualification, you might get it. So it's always good to at least try. If you never apply, you're never going to get the scholarship. But if you do apply, there's a chance you get it. And when it comes to thousands of dollars, that's probably a safe gamble to at least write one essay and see where it goes. Something else that's super important is to never tell yourself that you can't get this scholarship. If you do, you're going to miss out on so many opportunities. And it's never a good idea to put yourself down. Scholarships are basically about hyping yourself up. So it's good to be positive no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter how much the scholarship is or how competitive you think it is. You always have to tell yourself, maybe I can get this. I'm going to try to get this. I'm going to do my best to write an essay to apply for this, and we'll see what happens. Because at the end of the day, after you've written an essay, that's all you can do. It's in the hands, of the essay reader, but at least you gave it your best effort. And that kind of leads me into the last point here. you are sort of your biggest critic / opponent in scholarship writing. It's hard to mentally hype yourself up. Maybe you're not confident in your writing, and that's okay. You know, Sometimes it takes a few tries to get the essay just right and, to get down exactly what you want, how you want to. That's perfectly fine, but you should never stop trying because you feel defeated. Writing is a process. You make edits, you go back and do it again, you make more edits, and then, you submit it. That's what it's about. So don't get discouraged. How to apply. This is probably the most fundamental part of scholarships. Essays are key. So once you sort of figure out how to write an essay for a scholarship, after that, it's kind of like a master key to all sorts of puzzles and locks that unlock you lots of money for college. What works for one scholarship generally works for most. So this kind of goes back to the questions that I had before. A lot of it is you focusing on how you as an individual connect to your community and the world around you. And once you sort of figure that out and have an answer for yourself, I think that really opens a lot of doors when it comes to essay writing. Another thing to ask yourself is what makes you unique? Everybody's unique in some way, and essay readers really do care about, who you are and sort of what life experiences you've had, because nobody's lived the same life as you. There's something there. Again, what cool things have you done in your life, or what obstacles have you overcome? For me, this last year, one of the biggest obstacles that I really had to overcome was the sudden passing of one of my really close friends, and just having to deal with that grief and go to school and function just was incredibly difficult. And being able to write about that and sort of voice my struggles was probably therapeutic in a way for me, because I enjoy writing, but also there's moments that I look back on that really sort of reflected like my resilience as a person that I didn't necessarily pick up on before. But looking back on it, it was definitely a tough time in my life that I learned to work through, even if, loss is something you never really get over. But that's just an example. The next thing to sort of consider is, did you answer all parts of the question? It's also really good to use keywords from the question in your answer. It makes the essay reader aware that you read the prompt, first of all, and you are answering the question. Answering the question is huge, because you can have the best response in the world, but if you're talking about your learning abroad trip and they're asking you why are you majoring and what you're majoring, there's sometimes a disconnect. And so you got to make sure you're fully answering the prompt. That said, be organized, concise, and excited. If you don't care about, what you're writing about, it really shows in your writing. So I'd suggest picking an experience that pertains to the question that genuinely makes you excited or happy, because you're going to have a more fun time writing it. Nobody likes writing essays, so might as well just make it funner or more fun from the get-go. And you want to be sort of organized and concise. A lot of essays have word limits, so definitely making some sort of outline before you write is helpful, because you can kind of pick and choose, what examples you want to use, what fit the prompt the most, that kind of thing. So this kind of continued. You want to set time aside sort of every day to look for scholarships. It's time consuming. It really is. But at the end of the day, if you get the scholarships you apply for, or even one, that's saving you money. So the trade-off is really worth it. You also want to find several. So once you find one, don't just throw in the towel and be like, great, I applied. You want to find several scholarships that you can apply to. I tried to apply to about 10 or so, and while that may seem like a lot, it's really not, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But also, the more scholarships you apply to, the better your writing becomes. So like I mentioned earlier, if you're not confident in it, one of the best ways to get better at something that you might not be so good at is to practice. And sometimes that's a really harsh trial by fire sort of process, but the more you write essays, And the more time you put into it and the more you practice, the better at it you will get. That's just true. And you want to keep applying. Don't stop until you've got everything covered and you have the awards letter to prove it, sort of thing. You want to keep going until you've got everything covered or most of it covered to where you're in a good financial place. So this is just a quick little thing about prompts. Usually they ask you what you're studying and why you're studying it, how your major connects you to your community or the world, and kind of how has your life led you, to the place you're at. Think about all of your life experiences. These are all important questions to consider, especially the why you're doing something, why you're studying, for me, why am I studying anthropology, that kind of thing. What do you want to do with your life? It doesn't have to be like a specific career path, by the way. You don't have to be like, I want to be a neurosurgeon, working at this hospital doing this. You can have a sort of broad idea about how you want to better your community or the world. But as long as you establish a connection between how you're going to do that and where you're at now, that's what's important. So here's sort of an example. I'm in anthropology and health and science communication with a minor in Spanish. Most of my scholarships only care about how my major impacts the world around me. So between those two majors, an example, I guess, of a response would be, I want to work on public health campaigns, particularly in rural areas, to help spread information on health because rural communities are often left behind in the medical discussion. I'm from a rural town. I'm from Moab, Utah, so I understand the struggles of having, things like limited hospital beds and a limited number of vaccines during outbreaks. Like a couple years ago in Moab, I wrote about this in an application a couple years, or last year, I think actually, just talking about how one year the flu was just really bad in Moab, but because we're a small town, we didn't have enough vaccines for everyone. Another year, there was a whooping cough outbreak. I know. And everybody had to get revaccinated. But when there's a lot of, kids trying to get vaccinated all at once, sometimes there tends to be a shortage, that kind of stuff. So just finding those intersections with, your life, your major, and how you can sort of impact the world around you or even the community, that kind of thing. And then personal statements. This should 100% be about you, the struggles or obstacles you've had to face in your life, what you've done, and sort of what makes you you. So yeah, everyone stands out for some sort of unique reason. It might be cliche, but like that's just the truth. And it can be the smallest thing. Maybe you had an internship last summer that like you're just doing for a couple credit hours, but like that still happened. That you can still write about that. Or if you volunteered, at a food pantry or something, that's something you can write about as well. What sort of experiences did you have there? Or even a study abroad trip, maybe it's the first time you've been to a different country, and what were just sort of your thoughts there? How did, what sort of people did you meet? What sort of experiences did you have? It could be anything, but it's also important to think about what you've done and why that's important to you. So before submitting your application, you want to have someone take a look at it. As Jenny mentioned, the Used Writing Center is really good. Even friends looking over it to make sure you know that it makes sense. Professors, past employers, anyone really. I know professors are generally happy to look over that. My debate coaches, for example, definitely look over stuff that I'm about to submit. They're also the people I go to for letters of recommendation. So if you're comfortable enough having that conversation with a professor, definitely do, but also give them time to do it. You don't want to approach a professor 2 days before a scholarship is due and be like, hey, I need a letter of recommendation, because they probably will tell you no. But if they don't tell you no, they'll probably just be kind of annoyed, and it hurts your chances in the future. The second thing is proofread. Grammar matters. If you're applying to a bunch of scholarships, make sure you are using correct grammar. One application that I use is Grammarly. There are definitely other proofreading softwares, but like the free version of Grammarly works really well. I can sync it. You can now sync it to like Google Docs, which is what I write a lot of my essays on and stuff. So yeah, just like online softwares, if you don't have access to like a professor or you don't want to ask your friends to read it. But definitely always, always, always look over it before you submit it, because it really could mean the difference between getting the scholarship and not. If you submit a scholarship essay with a lot of grammatical errors, it shows the essay reader that you didn't care enough to look back over your essay and sort of fix those errors. It shows that you don't really care enough about the scholarship to go and put, your best quality work forward. Always proofread. That's a key takeaway here. So, let's say you got a scholarship. What about next year? Something important to consider is to keep files on scholarships. I have a little manila file folder that I just have a bunch of papers of past scholarships that I've done. Or if you want to do it online, keep a spreadsheet of like scholarship names, around the time when they're due. A lot of deadlines are typically the same year after year. How much the scholarship was, that's pretty important. And take notes about when you need to apply. So if you need a letter of recommendation and a scholarship's due on March 15th, you should be asking a professor in February, hey, can I have a letter of recommendation? It helps you be prepared, and it saves you time looking for scholarships, because if you have 5 scholarships you can just reapply to next year, that's huge. And keeping that organized in an easily accessible place is super, super important. Scholarships are also a continual process. It's not over, really, until you don't need money anymore for school. And for a lot of us, that's 4 or more years. So also bookmarking sites. It saves a lot of time looking for scholarships. So if, for example, a credit union, you can bookmark their page. A lot of them have specific scholarship tabs. You can just save it and then just keep checking it around the time the scholarship opens each year. So this is just kind of a note about some scholarships like compound over time. One of my credit unions gave me a $1,000 scholarship my freshman year, which is fantastic. That's $1,000 I don't have to pay for. This year, they gave me $3,000, and last year it was $1,200. So some scholarships, if you keep applying year after year, they take note of that. That's important to them because it shows that you're organized and that you're dedicated and that you're going to continue, trying to get scholarships regardless of what happens. And some of them reward that. And that's, the case with this credit union. It's not the case for everything, but you never know. There's only a risk in this instance that you gain money, and it's free money. So why not, right? That's really all I think I have. You can also email me if you have questions or if you want me to look over essays. I don't know how qualified I am to do that, but I'm definitely happy to look over it, edit grammar and stuff as well. And I'm also happy to share examples of essays that I've written in the past that have gotten me scholarships if you're just I'm still confused, what the heck does this look like, sort of in an applied sense. So yeah, my email is literally just my name @gmail.com, Grace, OSUSKY, @gmail.com. So feel free to shoot me an email if you have questions and you don't want to ask now. Otherwise, are there any questions? Okay, cool. Well,
Perfect. Well, thank you, Grace, Jenny, and Anne for speaking at our workshop. Again, if you have any questions that come to mind after the workshop, feel free to email us. I'm going to post a link of our post-workshop survey so you can take that survey. That really helps us analyze what we can do to improve our services. But yeah, hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.